HuffPost Live, I'm Ricky Camilleri. All week we have been covering Gamergate, and the controversy is still brewing. Just take a look at my Twitter feed. We've spoken to victims of harassment, neutral parties, and women who self-identify as Gamergaters. One of the major issues from the Gamergate community is that they feel they aren't being given a fair shake in the media. So we invited members of the media who've been covering this, including myself, to discuss that shake. Is there more to journalism ethics conversation Gamergaters say they want to have, or is it a smokescreen for an anti-feminist and misogynist sentiment? I'm joined now by Georgina Young, staff writer at Gamesided, Jesse Singal, senior editor at New York Magazine, and Alex Fitzpatrick, homepage director at Time. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Hello.
Hey.
I will pull up some of the tweets on my Twitter feed in just a moment. When I announced that we were doing this segment, when everything was set and ready to go, we announced it, I think, just maybe an hour ago, immediately got stuff that said, not another hit piece about Gamergaters. Don't do another hit piece about us. I've also been praised for not doing hit pieces and then also decried for doing hit pieces. So it sort of goes all over the place at the moment. Georgina, you are a neutral party. Do you think as a neutral party there is more to Gamergate than how the majority of the media has been covering it?
Oh, definitely. I originally got involved in it because I wrote an article called "How Do You Solve a Problem Like Gamergate?" and when I wrote that, I was slightly on the anti-Gamergate side, but I was, open to new ideas and stuff like that. So I didn't want to condemn them too far, but everything I'd read up until that point had been, saying that Gamergate was harassing people and that, it was all this negative stuff in the media about it, and that they were a hate group, they're a hate campaign, all these things. So it was slightly on that bent, it was slightly negative, but then the Gamergaters actually reached out to me and were like, actually, you agree with us, you're anti-harassment, which is something that Gamergate stands for. And then I started talking to people and I got to know them and I realized that it wasn't at all how they were portrayed in the media. And, either today or yesterday, I don't know, with the time zone, a slew of articles came out. Brianna Wu was on a lot of TV shows and things like that, giving her side of the story. But it's very, very rarely, apart from on the Huffington Post Live thing where me and two other women Gamergaters were on it, that's the only sort of positive, or giving Gamergate their side of the story, giving them their chance to speak.
I would say in giving Gamergate their side of the story, I was also called to talk to them. I was tweeted at. I actually went into a Gamergate exclusive hangout last night and talked to people for about 30, 40, maybe it was an hour. I don't know. I was pretty tired by the end of it. But to say the least, I disagreed with the majority of their points about the gaming industry, about journalism, about what should and shouldn't be covered, and I wasn't met with anything remotely seeming angry or hostile. Everyone was actually quite positive, quite open to criticism, quite open to talking, and no one was interested in harassing me. That said, I was doxxed yesterday. It was the wrong address, so screw you. But I don't know who necessarily did that. Was that a Gamergater? Was that an anti-Gamergater? Are these just trolls that are latching on to this in order for attention? Or is there an actual rational side to Gamergate that should be represented, should be discussed, should be talked about in media coverage? Jesse?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. Gamergaters are doing a terrible job representing that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think your hangout might have just froze. So I'm going to take that question to Alex. Alex?
Yeah, I would agree with what I think Jesse was about to say in that I think there is, a slice of Gamergate that is rational and has some sliver of a good point. The problem is, like Jesse was about to say, I think there's a messaging problem where a lot of the participants are not portraying themselves in the light that they would like to be portrayed. And these loud, angry, vicious voices are the ones that are being heard the most.
Mm-hmm. I would say more often than not, they say that. Let's pull up a comment right now from a Gamergater that's in our comment well talking. I think there's probably more than more than one. Alexander says, they are a very loud community. Alexander says, it is my opinion that anyone who is behaving poorly needs to be brought out into the light and asked to explain. However, the people that were originally criticized were women, so therefore they use the misogyny as a shield against criticism. Gamergate is not getting fair representation in the media. Anytime we try and talk about what we're about, we get told we're about sexism. Look at Gawker right now calling out for pro-bullying against gamers and nerds. I want to get to that second part in a minute, but what I want to address there is this is all the same comment from the same person who says these women that are coming out and saying that they have been harassed are using misogyny as a shield. We are not about sexism. That seems to play right into what everyone is saying here, that they're not doing a good job of representing themselves, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the women that you're talking about, they've had to file police reports. They've had to flee their homes out of personal safety. One had to cancel a speech at a school this week because she was concerned about threats over a massacre at the school. And the sort of threats they're getting are rape threats. They're very sexually charged threats. So to say that, they're using misogyny as a shield, I think is ridiculous on its face.
Could I add something?
Yeah, go ahead, Georgina.
At the same time, there's a lot of people like Boogie, who has 2 million YouTube subscribers, very prominent figure, and he's been doxxed, he's been harassed, he's been sent death threats, and actually his wife, who doesn't feature in his videos at all, and yet this gets absolutely zero coverage in the media, and I think that's totally unfair as well. And I think, as well, the people doing these threats are most likely, in my opinion, internet trolls. For some reason or another, one was a Brazilian clickbait journalist and things like this, and the people that have been found out, not only have they been decried by Gamergate, and Gamergate tried to stop them from doxing people, stop them from harassing people, reporting it, looking at IP addresses, finding these people, but at the same time, it's not getting the coverage. The pro-Gamergaters that are getting doxed, harassed, death threats, are not getting the coverage in the media that the anti-Gamergaters are.
Well, Georgina, would you say that it's not getting the coverage in the media because so many Gamergaters are still sticking to the conversation about feminism, about sexism themselves, and so therefore they are, I don't want to say an easy target because I don't think the media is trying to create an easy target here necessarily, but in regards to building a narrative, being able to tell the story, they're making it very easy for themselves to be the villain.
I think part of it is that it's more sort of interesting characters on the anti-Gamergate side maybe, and so it makes for more of an interesting story to put into the media when these women get harassed. And also I think with the media, if they're saying it's only women getting harassed, only women getting doxxed, and that's a much easier article to write, and it's much easier for people to see it from that standpoint maybe. I'm not really sure because, obviously I haven't been writing these articles, so I don't know what the journalist was thinking at the time. But those were just the ideas I had about it. But I think that it is getting all mixed in because the thing is that anti-Gamergates keep bringing up misogyny and sexism and things like that to say that Gamergate is a hate campaign. But if you actually look at Gamergate's actions, for example, they donated they helped support donations of $5,000 to a suicide prevention campaign. They helped provide over $70,000 in donations to the Fine Young Capitalists who support women in development. And also today, most recently, they fought out against Gawker Media trying to get bullying against nerds and that.
Well, I think I saw that last night. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Georgina. I saw that last night. That was an editor at Gawker that tweeted something that I think I saw it was meant to be a joke. That at the same time, though, if someone were to tweet a joke like that about another group of some kind, they could very easily be jumped upon, but when it comes to gamers, it is assumed that they should be able to take that as a joke, but clearly they're feeling a little sensitive right now and can't. Jesse, I want to bring you into the conversation. I have a tweet up right now from someone who wants to know, why is there not one mention of #NotYourShield in your #Gamergate article?
Well, because that wasn't what the article was about. The article was about what I see as sort of the precursor to all this, and these big changes going on in the gaming industry. I did want to go back to something Georgina said, because whenever Gamergate does something bad, it sounds like that's not Gamergate. But then when Gamergate raises money for an anti-bullying cause, suddenly it is Gamergate. The problem here is there's no one thing called Gamergate. Anyone who's on Twitter can use the hashtag and be part of the conversation. I think we need to acknowledge that. And if Gamergate wants to be taken seriously, issue some sort of official list of requests or demands or suggestions. I've been trying to debate these guys on Twitter, and I can't figure out exactly who and who isn't Gamergate, let alone what it is exactly they want.
If I can jump in quickly, it actually reminds me a lot of sort of Anonymous back in its heyday, where you've got this sort of large collective of people. Some of them have hacking or coding abilities, some of them are just internet trolls, and some are just kids having fun, and it's really difficult to tell what the whole collective wants or what the whole group of people wants. It becomes this very nebulous thing.
I couldn't agree more. Jesse, one of the things that I saw in your article that I thought was so spot on that I've been bringing up as well to Gamergaters, because so often one of their issues is cultural criticism within gaming reviews, and I've said that, well, all reviews, all criticism has cultural criticism in it, has cultural discussions. That's what reviews are. They are opinion, and they say, no, it shouldn't have that, and they're very fearful that because of that, certain games of theirs are going to get taken away, and I just have been trying to say that, no, those games are not going to get taken away. They are still massive money makers. They're still going to exist no matter who criticizes them. Everybody hated Transformers 4, but that still exists because it makes money. You know, these games are not going to go away, and there are going to be these other games that you pointed out in your article, more socially conscious, more socially aware games that are going to pop up as well, that aren't necessarily in resistance, but are possibly in slight opposition to, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is why I don't entirely understand the anger. The example I used in my piece was, Donnie Darko is a sort of weird, it's not really an indie movie now because everyone's heard of it. The existence of Donnie Darko didn't prevent them from making 8 million crappy X-Men movies. Just because there's, interesting games about feminism, about transgender people, there's always going to be shoot-'em-ups, there's always going to be Diablo. I play a lot of those games. I love them. This idea that the classical gamer identity is threatened, and I understand where it came from because people are explicitly doing that in articles. Anyone who really thinks that tomorrow they're going to take away your games about shooting people or about gruff masculine heroes, I mean, that's like thinking Obama is going to come and take all your guns away. It is so detached from reality. We will always have those games, and that's a good thing. It's like a point for the diversity of the gaming world.
And one of the things that I was also pointed out to or told last night in the Google Hangout that I joined, I just still think it's funny that I joined. Hey guys, I'm sure you're watching. Was one of the things that they kept trying to point out to me was that they are a diverse group of people. They aren't just white men. They aren't this image that keeps coming out in the media that is the gamer is dying, the white entitled male gamer is dying. And I was trying to say to them, well, maybe it's a good thing that they're saying that you're dying because they're saying that now you are all inclusive. All these different types of people can be. And everybody that I was talking to was excited for anybody that wanted to play games, no matter who or where they came from or what their ethnicity or sexuality is. So, Alex, how do we get to this place where this group, whatever this group is able to showcase that they are inclusive in some capacity?
It's a good question. I mean, I think some of that fear, perhaps, that they're feeling is because it's undeniable that video games have become more mainstream. 20 years ago, not every kid had a console, and now every kid does, and every kid has maybe two. So it's definitely becoming a more mainstream thing, and I think people need to realize that. But as Jesse said, and I agree, just because some people criticize Call of Duty for being violent or Grand Theft Auto for having prostitutes that put women in a poor light, doesn't mean that those games are not going to get made or won't get made anymore.
Right. So why?
Games, like you said, other games will get made to sort of balance things out.
Yeah, and why can't people write about in their game review journal